Now, the fourth type of words that youth workers should use are words that challenge. In another one of my training tapes titled 10 Signs of a Relational Youth Worker, I speak at length about developing relationships with students. Well, as we develop these relationships, we are at the same time earning the right to be heard on spiritual issues. We are establishing a base of credibility to influence students. Relational youth ministry builds trust, but it also builds an audience. And because of this reality, I believe youth workers need to do some talking to that audience. As that adult-to-student credibility is established, it's appropriate that we begin to talk about spiritual issues with students. Actually, students expect us to talk about spiritual issues with them. Early in my youth ministry years, I simply assumed that my job was to build relationships with students, and I was willing to do just about anything to spend time with them. But what I wasn't doing was challenging them to take the next step in their faith. We had a lot of fun together, but we didn't go deep very often. I didn't do a good job of asking students about their faith. And no students ever said, "Hey, Doug, would you please challenge me when we get together?" See, the expectation of spiritual challenge was to come from me. Now, as I look back over those years, I missed several great opportunities to use my words and my influence to push and nudge and stretch students to a deeper walk with Christ. Today, I've learned my lesson, and I'm not afraid to ask questions that will challenge students. Now, an example of words that challenge are maybe saying something like this: "When was the last time you read your Bible?" Or, "How can I help you be more consistent in your prayer life?" Or, "What do you think about tithing? Do you understand it? Do you tithe?" You might even say, "Hey, I want to challenge you to read the book of Philippians this week. I want to ask you some questions about it next week." Or maybe even challenge them by saying, "Will you pray for me and pray for me right now?" That was a challenge that one of my leaders gave me when I was in high school, and that challenged me to pray out loud for the first time in my life, and I've never forgotten it. We all need these types of challenges to help us grow and mature and develop into the likeness of Christ. And as you see a particular student that you've developed a solid relationship with, ask him or her a challenging question that may nudge them to further their faith. I really don't believe students are going to be surprised by this type of action. Actually, I think they're surprised when we don't talk about the things of faith. The fifth type of words that youth workers should use are words that mold. When I speak of molding students, I'm referring to a verbal tapestry that we can paint into their lives. Because words are so powerful and students are so impressionable, we have the ability to mold students with clearly defined words. Now, this concept can work both in negative and in positive ways. If you were to tell a child he's stupid, he would probably begin to feel comfortable with that label. And at the same time, if you were to tell someone she was an all-star, you might find her living up to that reputation. Could it be that Jesus knew this molding idea when he changed Simon's name to Peter, meaning rock? Now, it's not real apparent in the Gospels, but in the book of Acts, Peter lives up to his name. He was the rock in the early church. There's a woman named Cheryl Pruitt, who's a former Miss America, who credits her crown and title to the milkman, who would come into her father's store and say, "How's my little Miss America?" This milkman did this for years. And Cheryl found herself dreaming about achieving that title. She literally believes that his words shaped her life. Now, some debate the validity of such a claim, but I'm trying it on my daughter when I say, "How's my little Miss Millionaire?" I say that every day. Who will grow up and take care of Daddy? I don't know. We'll see. Now, while I may not believe my daughter will be a millionaire, I do believe in the youth ministry context, we see validity to this when we use the powerful words, "I believe in you." These words send a life-changing message to the recipient. These words are molding words. As I record this tape, one of my students, Andy, is about to graduate high school. Not only is he a wonderful person, but he's a totally committed Christian. The other day we were together, and he pulled out of his wallet a letter I had written him at the beginning of his freshman year, almost 4 years ago. To be honest with you, I had forgotten that I wrote it. But it was a molding-type letter, and Andy has lived up to it. Let me read a little of it to you. Dear Andy, I wanted to write and officially welcome you to your freshman year in high school. It's been great getting to know you over this summer, and I'm thrilled you're now going to be involved in our ministry.